Who wants to kick us off? Who's got a question? Who's got a nice question?
Well, I'll go, but I'm not sure whether it's a great question to start with. Reflecting on the weekend, what were your kind of analysis immediately after the game, and now having done more analysis, how do you reflect in terms of, was the preparation not quite right, or was it just one of those days where anything that could go wrong did go wrong?
Well, no, the preparation wasn't quite right, as I said post-game. As I said on the field to the lads, we take some ownership as coaches by way of the messaging and the quality of some of the training wasn't up to standard last week. We played with training, we didn't train that well. So we went in there probably with a false confidence. That's the first thing. So messages, preparation, and then we had a couple of late changes which added to the maelstrom of a perfect storm.
I think it was the Wolves manager Gary O'Neill that said on Sky Sports last week that the days of the hair dry treatment, the kind of shouting at players, throwing bottles around the dressing room are long gone. I'm assuming that wasn't your way in terms of screaming and shouting at the players. But how did you react to Saturday?
By confessing and taking ownership from my own part that I had to play in it, first and foremost, Kieran. And that's got to look to yourself, haven't you, and what you could have done differently. You know, by way of a stoic attitude, and then put it to the players, the leaders and the players, and understanding to get their reflections on what they could have done better, both in the lead up and on the day. And you find your answers and you start to put things right. Look, screaming and shouting still works, Kieran. You can still do that. You create an anxiety spike and a reaction in time because of shame and embarrassment. It still does work. It's just not one of the tools I choose to use.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. With rugby, was that something when you were a player that happened and you reacted to well? And nowadays, I think common consensus is in football, that definitely doesn't work anymore. Players don't react to that. Do you feel that the players in the squad would react in the right way if you felt that was required?
I think human beings across the world, by notion of the neuroscience that backs it up, will spike and react to that kind of blasting, hair-drying incident. They will, but it's not sustainable. That's the key. So if you want sustained, consistent performance and motivation, then there's a better space that you step into by ways of a little bit of discomfort, more honesty, and taking the learns from what was all round a poor performance.
Going into Friday then, is it a case of kind of using that kind of emotion from last week to fuel, or is that a dangerous game to play because you can end up perhaps kind of being too pent up and too emotional about it all?
No, I think you use whatever edge you can. Anything that gives you an edge for a weekend, like you use it for that weekend, but in the right manner. Like these are the learns, this is the fuel, as you've said. Then you've got a best of both worlds rather than just cracking the whip and like I say, creating anxiety whereby you become desperate, not deliberate.
In terms of an injury update, how did the meeting with the specialist with Luke Cowan-Dickey go last Friday?
Well, not as well as what Luke would have liked it to have gone, but he's close. I'm getting deja vu here. Like there was some point last year where you kept asking me about someone. I'm like, he's close. Like he's really close. Yeah. Probably not this week, but not far off.
In terms of the returning guys from the World Cup, I'm sure that you're probably not going to give anything away now, but I'm assuming, are they all back in training from yesterday, or are still kind of some being phased back in?
We've got 3 back in, and I'm not saying which 3 they are, so you can have a guess.
in terms of some of the other injuries that are about, is Joe Carpenter ready this week? And also probably Ben Curry is probably one of the other ones that fans would like to know.
Yeah, Ben has been training fully this week and it's likely to be involved. Joe, touch and go, maybe with an extra 2 or 3 days he would have been good, but he's still such a young player and such an explosive player. And we're not totally au fait with his body because he's still growing, you know what I mean, and adapting to the loadings. We want to give him a little bit of extra time.
Were there any fresh knocks that were picked up from the weekend or going into the weekend, as you touched on?
Yeah, Flats came off, didn't he? Grade 2, groin. Everyone else is good, actually. Into the swing of it now, and they feel a little bit more body hardened, obviously, after getting that drum in than they have leading up to that game. So we're in a good spot. Like training, like I say, yesterday was hard but cathartic, and today's been energised and intense, which bodes well and makes me a much happier coach.
What was the time frame on Flats's injury?
We still don't know, so it could be 2 to 4. It's a grade 2, and it's a quick healer Flats, so we'll see. It's all on kind of stiffness and strength parameters.
Okay, right. Cheers, Alex. Thank you.
Thanks, Graham.
Al, could I jump in, please?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
How's Luke? It must have been so frustrating for Luke. Generally, how's he been around the place?
He's been brilliant. He's got like a little some love-hate relationship with Dan Dupree, who's like really quiet and relatively insular, and Luke's the opposite, as we know, like just crazy mad, energetic, and right from the off he's like just sitting on his knee and telling him he's going to be his best mate, and Dan's like having none of it but still getting into him, and then in training they're just belting each other, like hitting each other, laughing, rolling around on the floor and then getting back up. So it's a really weird relationship. So that's just one example, but he's fit for purpose. He seems fit for purpose. He's doing everything that we do and all the lads do on a weekly basis. Some of his parameters are down in terms of his strength testing. He's like at 28% on one bicep compared to the other, but that might be in plateauing out. So we're kind of getting to terms with that. And if it is, then he's kind of, like I say, he's good to go. We'll know next week probably where he's at with that. The specialist was really positive. This is the same specialist that said you could get back for playoffs, for World Cup playoffs, that kind of timing. So Luke's going in there thinking he's going to let me play. He's going to let me play against Mill Club. Specialist is like, this is great. Like he's got a needle in his arm and he's hearing the clicking. And he says, it's like very soon. It's like 2-3 weeks maybe, something like that. Luke just goes, bullshit. Bullshit. I'm fucking ready now. I'm going to score 2 tries today. It's like the day before the game. And then relaxed and had a laugh and he's like, no, I get it. It's been since January. I'll wait on until we know for certain. So he's a ball of energy. Love having him around the place.
Brilliant. And of those returning World Cup lads, are the guys, so 3, are they available to play straight away? Yeah.
The 3 that we've got in are, yeah.
One of the, obviously they've all had different sort of measures of game time over the tournament. George is someone that you were really effusive about his influence in training when he wasn't playing last year, I think. Has it lifted straight away with him being back?
Is he back?
He's back, sorry, isn't he?
He's sneaky, Charlie, sneaky. If he was back, I'd assume that energy would lift with the kind of person that he is. Yeah.
Awesome. Cheers out.
Thanks, Charlie.
Alex, hi. Can I just ask you about Rafi?
Yes. Rafi's eating through a straw. Happy with it though, still smiling. He's got elastic bands on his on the back of his jaw. It's a fracture, but a non-displaced fracture of it, and it's like 4 weeks ish, 4 to 6. So he can train and do weights and stuff. He just can't get another knock on it. Caught a heel of a boot against Leicester.
Do you have to sort of spend extra time with him? He's had such a bad run.
He cuts me hair, Chris. So I get to spend extra time with him during haircuts. I think if I were to spend more time with him, he'd start to shy away from me a little bit and detest me as a kind of annoying, overbearing uncle. No, he's in a good place. Raf's in a good place despite his concurrent injuries, and this is just another one which was out of his control, and he's quite well measured with that. I'll spend a bit more time with him, start to build him up and reframe what his goalposts are in a couple of weeks. This is generally the process, yeah.
We know from knowing Agustin for many years, he'll be desperate to play. Given Hooker's situation, are you thinking of playing him this week?
Well, we might be, Chris, yes. I'll just leave it at that in the air, as I have with Kieran and Charlie.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
It's the most mysterious.
The explanation that you gave made perfect sense from a kind of coaching perspective as to what happened. What were the views of the players?
The most rewarding aspect of it all was that, and it wasn't. I didn't take ownership to solve vulnerability. It wasn't a tactic or a strategy. I was being honest, and I still am, because I'd said it on the game and I said it again on Monday. Immediately, Rob grabbed him in. Rob Dupree was the captain at the time, and again he said it in front of the team. He's like, it's not on them, it's on us. Like, we're the ones stepping out there. So they took ownership for their part straight away. So that's the most rewarding aspect of when you're involved with a group like this, is that we are in it together. We win or lose, performance good or bad, we're all part of it.
And did they have a similar explanation to you in terms of the feeling that the quality of the training wasn't there the previous week? What was their explanation? Yeah,
they had a slightly different slant on it as well on field. So like, we only have to go back a week previous for them to feel a good performance against Leicester, in a similar kind of cauldron, in adversity where we came through, and the feeling on pitch, the communication from top down, and also from the kind of the lads who do the hard yards and the great body of work in terms of active listening from bottom up, wasn't where it was the week before. Consequently, the energy wasn't. The energy during the lows and lows of that game, because there was very, very few highs to latch onto, dissipated, and then you start to spiral and chase. So again, then taking ownership, they just thought that we weren't together in the game or in the breaks in game, which were quite obvious from some of the vision that you could see. Like, just go back to when Flats got a try disallowed, and I know it is contrived, but they're in as a 15, and we're 6 or 7 of our pack and 4 or 5 of our backs looking up at the big screen. So just by looking at that, it's quite obvious that you're not in the moment, that you're certainly not understanding and aligned as to what the next play is, and you're concerned with something that you have no control over. So, that's just one example of a few that happened in the game, and they mentioned that before I showed them the vision. But it's quite a powerful picture, that, really. So getting back to what we've practiced and getting back to what we felt the week before is quite an easy thing to recall, because it's only 2 weeks ago.
I guess one of the biggest issues I'm guessing is the fact that the blowout was quite that big. Like, because you can get things wrong and you can have days when things don't work, right? So
Yeah.
was your concern over the scale of it as opposed to necessarily it happening, because it happens?
I didn't think we had a drumming in us like that ever again, you know. But maybe therein lies the hubris of it all. You don't have to be a lot off to be like a long way off in how competitive this league is. Every team has won 2 and probably lost 1, which they should have been expected to win. You know, across the board, like we're no different there, but we aspire to be better. So hopefully, and not hopefully, our intent as a club is that is the last lesson, the last time we have to learn that this season. We will learn it again, because I have been there and we've been there and a few times in the past, but let that be the last one we said to ourselves by way of...
Do the players feel a little bit like, it was one of those days? I mean, can you afford to kind of write it off a little bit on the grounds that, some days are just like that in sport? It happens individually, it happens collectively on occasions. Can you, not by way of excusing anything, because I know you want to address the shortcomings, the practical shortcomings, but is there an element of that or not really?
Yeah, I mean, not catastrophising it, not overemphasising certain aspects of that game which are the exception, not the norm, understanding that definitely, Ali, because otherwise you can lose confidence and become derailed by what I believe is going to be a one-off performance. And the other way of looking at it, it coming full circle back to Kieran's question, is you could probably sweep that under the carpet and still get a reaction and still get a good performance. But as I say, rather than sweep under the carpet on one extreme or show them clip upon clip of below par standard performance on the other and create an anxiety spike, there's some space in the middle there for optimal learning. And the big learns were what I've talked to you about with through adversity. Whatever we do together, not silo off in our own heads and through our own actions and go out of system. And those learnings that I've just mentioned there came from the players, not me. I just had the vision and said, what's going on here?
Was there a moment when you knew it was going to be one of those days?
Yeah, first 10 minutes. No, first 3 minutes I thought we are not at the races here. For the set piece to go, for the first kick to be off, kick execution, for set piece to be off in that first scrum, and then for us to lose a collision around the ruck when we said internally we wanted to start fast and start well because the teams that had beaten this side had, and I don't think we gave them enough respect for what it took to start fast and start well. I definitely didn't. I've got a newfound respect for that Exeter team and how well they're coached.
Just a couple of quick ones on individuals. Van Rijn obviously has made a big impact in a short time. Would that be your assessment?
Yeah.
Looks like you know what you're getting with him, right?
Right, the whole of Altrincham, people love him. Yeah, he's great, isn't he? Yeah, he's like unparalleled work rate. Never gives an inch. And again, he was another one who worked really hard, and it was just a case of looking after him at the weekend because he's played every game thus far, even the pre-season games. We're very lucky. He's exceeded expectations by way of not just his work rate, and we knew he was a banger, but we didn't know that he could do it for 80, as consistently as he has. But just the bloke he is, like he's in the leaders' meetings now, and for someone to be there in that short space of time, but is valued and respected as much as he is, kind of, it's a testament to the bloke and the player, yeah.
Well, is that off the back of what you've seen from him, or did he kind of ask for it?
No, yeah, just want to keep pushing him. Just like we saw a little bit, now that's good. How do we keep stretching him? How much can we put on him before it seems like too much? And there's still room there. There's still evidently room there, and he comes with a fresh perspective because he's new to the environment, and he comes with a South African edge, and we have a few, so he helps us out there in terms of comms. He's been a leader all his life, by the way, Al. So we're coming into this. I knew he was a captain of Stormers and all that. So, yeah, he's serving us well for that. And it's not, in terms of leadership, he leads by doing, like, you can see that, you know what I mean? He's an energy giver by his actions, in terms of him going round and geeing everyone up and the touch stuff, but also by by his endeavours, and not so much by strategy and tactics. We've got enough of them. So yeah, that's the part he's playing for us really well at the moment.
Okay, and obviously we're delighted to see Manu back with you. But Sam Bedlow, talk to me about him, and obviously his second spell at the club. Where do you think he's at, and how's he slotted into your midfield? Yeah,
again, weekend being the exception, like he was brilliant against Leicester. We've got a few decent distributors, you know, when Fordy does come back, if he is back, with him and Rob and Sam James. Now, Bedders can distribute as well. He can play 10, 12, 13. But the niche that he's fitting in with us is one of a more direct, hard-running centre and offloading through contact. And he's able to do that as well. We saw that against Leicester. And I feel like that if you were to match up him and a Dan Kelly, I think he probably got the better of him that day, physically, you know. And that's saying something, because he's a big fella, Dan, isn't he? And then some of his offloading skills post-contact as well, which he's got. So he's tremendously skillful, and he's able to lean into the physical side of the game. I think where he's improved, and where, this is from his recognition, is his dominance in that channel, in that kind of straight up, on the seam, hard running, his ability to bend backs, to bend them backwards and get their head facing their own touchline. So, because he was much of a grip tackler before, so he's grown since he's been here in that. I'm enjoying working with him. He's dead chilled. He's from Rosendale, which is where I grew up as well, so he understands me when I talk my northern drawl.
90% northern.
96%.
96%.
96, 4% Germanic. Yeah.
Don't ignore the same. Okay, thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers, buddy.
Hi, Alex. Very well. Just wanted to ask you about the Friday night games, because obviously it's something I think you did a couple of times last season, but the club this year doing it virtually every one of the home games. What sort of impact do you think that'll have on attendances and I guess people choosing rugby union in the area?
Well, a positive one, I hope, Robin. We know from research that Friday and Sunday are the best days. We're avoiding the football crowds on the Saturdays. Sundays, more family orientated. Friday night lights, more party, and having a good crack with it. And I can contest for that. I always go up, try and cool off a little bit after the games, and it's buzzing on that Platinum Lounge and on the first floor there. So I think attendance, for the most part, is down to our performance. The product we're putting out there, which so far at home has been really good, Kieran, and also the latent effect of the World Cup, which I hope would bring a few people in as our international stars come back in as and when.